Darkcast Network. Out of the shadows comes the best of indie podcasts.
Welcome to the J Squared Horror Podcast, where two lifelong horror fans talk all things horror. Pour yourself your favorite drink and hang out. Here are your hosts, Josh and Jake.
Hey guys, welcome to the J Squared Horror Podcast. I'm Josh.
And I'm Jake.
And on today's exciting episode, what are we going to be discussing?
We are discussing 2023's Saw X, or Saw 10, sure your preference is, by Kevin Groeder.
What an interesting input into the J Squared Horror Podcast.
Yeah.
What would you like to let anyone new to our podcast know, bud?
As always, like and subscribe on YouTube.
Pretty, please.
Also find us on Spotify.
We're on there.
We're on Apple.
We are.
I'm pretty sure still Google.
As far as I know.
All right. And also on Instagram, J Squared Horror Podcast. Link tree in the bio. New episodes every Thursday.
Every single Thursday. Two lifelong horror fans to get together and talk all things horror. We consider ourselves the most original horror podcast out there because we are not information-based. We are communication and fun-based. So like we said, pour yourself your favorite drink, come hang out, and talk about all things horror. Now, if you're interested on being a part of the most original horror podcast out there, make sure to go to www.jsquaredhorrorpodcast.com. There you can easily communicate with us. Let us know what you thought about the episode. If you're not into the social media thing, you can go there and find links to our YouTube or the Spotify or wherever we're available. But also, you can request an episode idea. You can request to be on the podcast. You can request to be in person on the podcast. You just have to get through a little quiz. We're just going to make sure you're cool, not a fucking murderer. As much as we like to talk about murder, we would not like to get murdered yet.
No.
Because if you get approved, you will be sitting right in between us, as you guys have seen here before on the podcast, with Caleb Jones, with Ross Goodman, in person, on the spot, live J Squared Horror podcasting. We're down for anybody to be on the podcast. So if you're at all interested, like I said, www.jsquaredhorrorpodcast.com. What I'd also like to mention, as you hear in the intro, we are part of the Darkcast Network. I know it's super exciting. Calm down, guys. Calm down. I know it's a big deal, but we are part of the Darkcast Network. They have been super amazing to us. They are very big into true crime, all sorts of dark and spooky stuff. Go check them out. Go find other podcasts you like to listen to. Unfortunately, we only put up one episode out a week. So after you listen to us, make sure to go check some of them out. They do really cool stuff. Big shout out to the guys we mentioned last week. Can't remember your name right now. Conspiring to Argue. I'm pretty sure it's their podcast name, but they're super cool. They've been super friendly to us too. But go check out all of the other podcasts with the Darkcast Network. Now, Saw X10 is the newest entry into the Saw franchise. Me and Jake went to see this on Sunday. We paid our hard-earned dollars to go witness this movie. We were super excited about it. As you guys know, next week, if you're new to the podcast, you might not know, but we did cover the original Saw last week.
Yeah.
We like covering the originals and then the newest one that comes out, which we find out through some research because we didn't do any before we watched it, that this is the sequel to the original.
Yeah.
So if you haven't yet seen Saw X and you're at all interested in seeing Saw X, let us save you $15 because you don't have to see it. It's a piece of shit and I hated every second of it. But if you are interested in seeing it, this episode is probably going to have some spoilers. So if you don't want us to spoil it, pause us, go check it out, then come back to us. But I suggest you just listen to the episode because it was a huge waste of money and time for the both of us.
Yeah, I knew it was because this is the first movie we've seen together where we both separately got up and used the bathroom. Yeah,
I never do that.
I know you don't.
I do not. And there was just so many points in this movie where I was like, I could take a piss. This is going to take 10 minutes of him explaining this trick to people. All right, so let's just get into the nitty gritty of this. If you guys aren't aware, we don't like covering from start to finish the movies, especially one that's a huge waste of time. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about points we may have liked, points we may have hated, reasons why we think this is a cash grab. Oops, that slipped. Reasons why we dislike this movie so much. If that all interests you, hang out, check us out. We have some fun information at the end of this podcast. Make sure to stick around to the end. Jake, Saw X.
Boring.
Sequel to Saw.
Yeah.
Is cash grab the right word for this movie?
100% it
Yes.
is. Yeah.
We did some pre-podcasting research, if you will, basically listening to some of the other people that we respect out there in the horror information review world. We're not necessarily reviewers, but a lot of people clump us into that category, which is fine because we do talk about horror movies. But everybody loves this fucking movie.
I don't understand how.
It's rated like a 7.1 on IMDb, 60 Metascore. I think on Rotten Tomatoes it's significantly higher, which is shocking because, like you said, we both not only got up to pee, we both also, when we left the movie theater and had our little post-movie conversations outside, we were on the exact same page of hating this movie. Oh my God, guys. If you're at all a fan of Saw, I'm sorry. This is your Halloween Ends. Even though it's not chronologically the same, it's the same feeling. I feel like if you respect the Saw franchise as it has been presented to us.
It's the same concept they did with Halloween Ends, trying to make it like a movie.
Yeah, they went super clean, super aesthetically pleasing. Just a heads up, Jigsaw is the hero of this movie, so if that all interests you, then you can watch it. If not, guess what? You just found out in under 7 minutes how this movie's going to go.
And to me, that was such a strange thing to do.
Yeah.
To make him the character you're rooting for.
Yeah.
Throughout the movie.
He's a terrible, like, murderer, like, trap maker, like, bad person.
That's his whole thing.
Yeah. I don't like it. So basically, if you guys haven't seen the preview yet, I'll just give you a quick synopsis of what this movie is about. Between Saw and Saw 2 comes right in there. It's what's his fucking name? I can't think of his name right now.
John Kramer.
John fucking Kramer is obviously has the tumor, has cancer, is hating his life, knows he's gonna die soon. Finds out through another person that he met through a like cancer support group that there's a potential for another doctor that does some trying like new age stuff, not approved in America, in different countries. They're Norwegian, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're Norwegian doctors that supposedly can get rid of tumors with a combination of surgery and a cocktail of medicines. He goes and it doesn't go according to plan, and then he catches said people and does the Jigsaw thing. There's the movie. That's it. Now we can bash it because it's an absolute pile of hot dog shit. Just like top tier dog shit to the fucking max. Like we said already, it's a cash grab, man. If this movie, you know, they presented it to us in this way. So they presented it to us as in between Saw 1, Saw 2. It is new, so like you can get past people looking old and all this stuff. Like that's the only thing that certain people were picking apart that we noticed through the research we were doing through some of these content creators. But the movie has so many flaws and so many missing parts that even when we were talking outside, we said, and I quote, "There are no redeemable parts of this movie that you can hold on to." Yeah,
I mean, you spend 40 minutes talking about John Kramer and his cancer.
Yeah, like
the first 40 minutes of the movie are that.
You know he has cancer, and you know that like this is like what the premise of this movie is him potentially getting a treatment versus it not, because you know obviously he dies later on throughout the series. So like you already know, if you know Saw, that it didn't work because he still had it in later movies. Like what the fuck are you guys even going for here? And I think the directors and like the creators even said like we fucked up by killing John Kramer. But you can't go back and delete the shit you did.
You can show him as much as you want to. We already know he doesn't make it. Like we know whatever's going to happen to the doctor, like you said, doesn't work.
It doesn't work. So you know the outcome of this movie. So why are we wasting... You know, and another caveat to this movie is it's almost 2 fucking hours long. It's an hour and 56 minutes.
It's the longest Saw movie.
It's the longest Saw movie, and for horrible reason, because they gave a bunch of backstory of a character that has been a side character. Even though he is the main character, he has been portrayed as a side character throughout the entire process of all Saw movies.
There's probably a reason for that, because like I said, people don't watch Saw movies for Jigsaw or John Kramer. They watch it for the traps.
Yeah, that's the whole point. It pushed the envelope
the
in 2004 on creating these impossible games. As much as we joked about it last week, at the end of the day, they're damn near impossible games to survive. To pick, are you bad enough to die the long way, or are you humble enough to do the painful way?
Yeah, and
it is what it is.
You make a movie 20 years later that's supposed to take place 18 years ago, and the whole, I don't get it. Like it's just boring.
It's very boring.
It's boring as fuck. Just, I remember sitting there and I leaned over. I'm thinking, I'm ready to go.
Yeah. I could have taken a nap on your shoulder.
And you had checked your phone at one when I looked over. And this is a 6:30 movie.
Yeah, we went to an early showing. It was the only time showing in our area.
Yeah.
And
I looked over at your phone. I thought, 8 o'clock.
And what's super funny about that is I checked. This is how boring the movie was, guys. I pulled out my phone and I checked it. Brightness was all the way down. I wasn't disturbing anybody around me because the closest person was 4 seats over to me, and Jake had nothing next to him. And we weren't even talking during this movie, which, as you guys know through fans of the podcast, we've gotten in trouble for before. Everybody, the theater appeared to have the same vibe as us, though, which we may have been wrong about. But
I mean, based on these reviews.
Yeah, based on these reviews, we were completely wrong. Yeah. So I checked IMDb during the movie, and it said 1 hour and 56 minutes, and I couldn't have told Jake, because if I would have told Jake that this was about to be 2 hours, and we're already into it, like we've already watched all the John Kramer stuff happen, and it kind of and I was actually getting kind of busier at that moment in the movie, and I was like, I can't tell him. If I tell him, he's going to give me the tap.
Because at that point, not a single person was dead yet.
No, not a single person had died. And also, what really pisses me off, and I'm going to go get this out of the way now: do not promote a fake kill in your posters.
Oh, yeah.
Do not. So if you guys have seen the movie poster, which, as you guys know through our videos, it's going to pop up right in between us at the beginning of this, but you'll see an eye contraption trap. That's all a dream of Jigsaw, and it's not real, and it's the second best of the movie as far as traps are concerned, but you can't count it because it was just in Jigsaw's head, because he catches some guy stealing from a hospital guy. From like a guy was sleeping and he was raiding his drawer, but it was all fake. So how are you going to promote and use that
a fake kill
as your promoting purpose
on the posters and everything?
Everybody knows eyeball injuries are always intense, and you want to see it, but for it to be fake was really disappointing.
It was crazy. They used it like the tube were crossed like an X.
X, yeah.
In the movie, it's not like that.
I get that part. Like, I can look past that part if it was a real kill.
I can't look past that part either. It's all misleading, all of it.
It's very misleading. This whole thing was very misleading as far as what a fan of the Saw franchise should expect and should get.
But I thought it was funny. Right before we went into it, we had mentioned how wouldn't it be funny if that was the first kill?
Yeah. Oh, shit. Yeah, because we got Mexican right before, because we like getting a little margarita burrito action going before we sit down for a movie.
And a little side of Mexican water.
That Mexican water. Dude, if we didn't have the Mexican water, we were walking out. I think it really took the nerves off a little bit, so to speak. But no, it's like, seriously, guys. I'm gonna go ahead and say this now. This is probably my biggest point I'm gonna make in this entire episode.
Okay.
If Saw X was the original Saw movie, this is the best Saw movie. I'm not saying that the movie itself is bad. Don't mislead, or don't let us mislead you into believing that the movie as itself, as its own entity, as you guys know through the podcast, we do mention with newer movies, how would this movie do if it was a standalone in the franchise?
Yeah.
So with that being said, I'm not saying this is a good movie because it is in the Saw franchise, but if it was completely alone, and if this was a prequel or the first Saw, they knocked it out of the park. But, big fucking but here, it's in between 1 and 2, and it's in the current franchise, so I cannot forgive them for what they did in this movie.
Yeah, you can't erase the past movie. But you're right, though. If this was like the first Saw movie,
yeah,
it sets the franchise off to be successful, I would think.
Yeah, I don't think there's much they could have done.
Yeah, or like you said, just a standalone Saw movie.
Yeah, like if no other Saws had existed, this is the best thing you've ever gotten because you wouldn't know. But also, if they would have somehow made this the prequel to 1, which technically could have worked minus 1 or 2 details.
I agree.
It would have been great. But even in the movie, you know where it's at. Because like I said, we really didn't know that. Oh, I know I told you because I researched that one little thing before I got in there. I wanted to look up chronologically where these movies fell.
Yeah.
So we did know that going in there, but there's also a character that's in there, Amanda, that is from 1, the survivor of the reverse bear trap, who's also in other ones. But she's in this movie. She's the main character in this movie. So you knew right then and there about the timeline of it. But also, like, you meet these characters. None of these characters are redeemable. Some of the other ones throughout the Saw franchise have some redeemable characteristics.
Yeah, the good thing about this, these are all just bad people.
They are very bad people. So what they do is they trick, like, chronically ill individuals to believe that there is a cure for what they have, even though everybody's telling you you have months, days, years to live.
Yeah.
The worst of the worst. We're talking, stage 4 cancer of the brain, of the throat, really, really bad shit. And then they trick you into believing that these doctors, they'll play like videos of brains like it's a surgery, keep you in and out of conscious to make you believe it. And then you leave there and you're not healed. And there's like little bits of sprinkled Easter eggs, if you will, or not even Easter eggs, just like bits of like things you should pay attention to. But there's, the kills. So we can talk about, obviously, the traps. So there's one fake trap. We can go ahead and 86 that one. But out of the other 4, I do believe that we get, there's not many in this movie. There's usually not too many in Saw. I think Saw 2 has the most. But this one has roughly 4 actual traps.
Yeah, I think he got.
There's like 4 main bad guys plus the one that goes the weird way.
Yeah.
Out of those 4, Jake, just describe the one that you like. You don't have to go through the other ones, but just tell me which one is your favorite. And what do you think how do you think they did on certain traps?
I was going to go through all of them.
I mean, you can. I don't know how we're gonna fill a 45-minute slot with this movie, but we're gonna give it our best.
My favorite trap is the girl who had to fill up the cup with the bone marrow.
Okay. So
her having to use, was it a bone saw?
It's I can't remember the name of it, but it's like a saw you use in like a survival kit that can cut a branch. It's like 2 hooks or two pieces of wood and a loose chain saw, not chainsaw, but saw that's on a chain.
The fact that she did it, I thought was probably very surprising for me. The fact that she actually went through with it, but the way it visually looked. The process it took to do it, the way it ended for her.
Yeah.
That was hands down the best trap and the best execution of a trap.
Yeah. I would say almost out of any Saw movie, but definitely this one.
Definitely at least top 3.
It's top 3 for sure. Yeah. Because like you said, you get to actually see the whole process of this trap. So a lot of times they pick one way or the other to go, and it goes that way, typically.
Also, I like that he said that not participating is not an option.
Yeah, no, you had to.
You had to do it.
You had to do it. And remind you, this is early Jigsaw. So, like, some of the other traps we kind of have to forget about. But versus 1, this is the best.
Yeah, he's early on saying, hey, guys, you don't have the option to not play.
Yeah, like,
you kind of have to do it.
This is how this works, all right?
Yeah, I just started doing this. But
you're either going to die or you're going to die eventually.
Pretty much.
Prolong your death or have it instantly. You guys know my route.
It does suck that watching this made me think about how a lot of those traps later on in the franchise are more unbeatable. Yeah. These ones, 2 people actually beat them.
Yeah, 2 people did beat them. And the thing that I liked about the first trap.
Well, technically 2 people beat them.
Yeah, technically. Technically 3 people.
Oh, yeah, shit.
If you really think about it.
These aren't any fucking traps then. They're just a minor inconvenience in your day.
The thing about the first trap is it was, like he said, it was a like a leg saw. Not a leg. Jesus Christ. It was like a branch saw in a survival kit. But her option was to saw off her leg, collect her bone marrow, and she would survive. And what he kept saying in this movie in particular with 2 of them is, "I'll get you to the doctors immediately upon your survival of this game."
He was so encouraging.
Yeah, you're like, if you choose to go the one route, you'll be okay. But if you go the other route, you're gonna die. And her other option was a machine that would decapitate her. And the thing that we both enjoyed about this. There's a lot of horror decapitations out there. A lot of times with a mask on, or a lot of times it's kind of like off-screen head rolls. This practically is one of the greatest decapitation scenes of all time. Yeah. Because the head that rolls and the way the deceased body falls, because it's missing a leg too, so they did everything very properly. Yeah. She succeeded in sawing her, and it's really cool because she, like, the last bit of flesh that was left, she just like pops it, and then her leg dead weights and fall. It looked very real.
Yeah.
Like if you're at all uncomfortable, you know what you're getting into in Saw movies, so like don't go. But if for some reason your boyfriend or your girlfriend makes you go and you don't like it, you might want to close your eyes. But for anybody that enjoys horror to this level, it is very, very well done. But she gets it done, but doesn't get the bone marrow in time. This is a 3-minute timer, so the time it took her to think about doing it and to start sawing, or to have to stop and scream because of the agony of pain, she doesn't get enough bone marrow in the scale to turn it off, so she gets decapitated. Everybody's watching this happen, whether it's Jigsaw, Amanda, the other 3 that are in there. They're all watching this. So you now know, as the other 3 surviving, about to be trapped, this shit ain't no joke.
It's got to suck to cut your leg off, though, and still not make it through.
Yeah. I think the shoving the bone marrow thing in there would get me more than sawing my leg off.
Yeah.
Because I already got through that. I mean, your body's probably in pretty good shock.
You know what my thought was, though?
What?
Take it from the other leg.
The bone marrow? You can't.
Why not?
It's in your bone.
There wasn't bone in the leg she cut off?
That's the leg she was in.
No, stick it into that.
That's what she did.
The leg she cut off. That
Into the other. But it fell. I don't know if she could
that
reach
portion.
it. It fell a good bit.
Yeah, well, if it
She was
didn't.
chained to the chair. No, she couldn't because it was that saw was only like 6 inches from her throat,
Yeah.
and that leg rolled quite a bit. I see what you're saying. Why didn't she just grab the falling
Grab
off
the
leg
phone
part?
and
I get
plug
you.
it into that, yeah.
Maybe that bone marrow don't count. I don't know, but it's also a femur, and that's a good source of bone marrow.
I feel like if it didn't count, Kramer would have threw out the flag and
Hey. That don't count.
No.
That don't count.
Start over.
Needed to hurt.
next
Put
leg.
it back on. Yeah. let's get the left leg going. Also, how do you think they needed to bring Amanda into this movie?
Yes and no.
All right. Go ahead and explain for the people.
So, yes, you need her because, the fan service aspect. You don't want just John Kramer out there by himself, old man.
Yeah, he's super cancer-ridden, super frail.
Yeah, this fucking corpse walking around. He can't do all that shit.
Yeah.
Because then you have to answer more questions like who is helping him kidnap all these people? Because
Yeah,
that's
I told
his
you
thing.
that. Yeah. After the movie, I was like, because they have the pig face again, like the robed pig face, and it was like fucking people up, like kidnapping people, and I was like, ain't no fuck. This guy's barely been walking in this movie, but then they show that it's her every time, and I was like, oh, thank goodness, because that was going to be a big plot hole in this movie.
And I guess the no concept of it because, I mean, why?
Yeah, we know why, but like why?
Yeah, I mean, this whole movie is a fucking why.
Yeah,
but like why though? Like,
excuse me.
The addition of her in the movie to me only made sense with her in the first one being a recovering drug addict.
Yeah, because it played into Gabriella's story.
Yeah. Outside of that, she's not needed.
Yeah. Also,
just give me a little healthier John Kramer.
yeah, just slightly healthier. Give me the first one give me the one with the backwards hat.
Yeah, yeah, a little younger John Kramer.
Also, what's crazy is that we were supposed to believe that this Norwegian doctor, mind you, this is fairly. It appears because as we proved in the Saw episode we did last week, timelines in Saws don't always add up.
They never do.
Also, certain plot devices in Saw don't always line up.
Also
There's
true.
a massive one in this movie, so we hate this movie to begin with. But as we've been talking about this movie, we realized multiple other things. The biggest one being, we are led to believe that this Norwegian doctor set into motion all of these pieces of people that knew that John Kramer was Jigsaw, and that's why they did that to him in particular. Mind you, they've already done this to other people, and they didn't even need to find him as to being Jigsaw to do this. That doesn't make sense. Also, why would you want to try Jigsaw? That doesn't make sense either. You know what he does if you know who he is, and you know that that's not going to pan out very well for you.
And that concept is crazy. They knew he was Jigsaw, knew he'd probably come after them, but she was like, I'll take my chances.
It's worth the risk. I'm smarter than he is. Which she does say multiple times, like, I have the bigger balls. I'm the better of the two. And she's basically a doctor Jigsaw. Like, that's what she does.
Yeah, in
she
essence,
manipulates people and they still die.
Yeah, she has.
But she doesn't
people-
give them a choice except to give her hundreds of thousands of dollars to perform fake miracles.
Yeah, she. So what? My thought when they're talking there,
Yeah.
and she asks him what he does for a living.
Yeah, he's an architect.
I feel like at that point she probably knew who he was.
I mean, prior, but yeah, I guess so. I mean, I guess if you
Because this is prior to his surgery and stuff.
Yeah, if you rewatch or rethink about the movie, there's probably some red flags, if you will, about this damn movie. But that's humongous. That's a humongous. It doesn't make sense in the Saw franchise at all that somebody from Norway could find out about Jigsaw quicker than the local police and actually get him trapped in a situation to where he's vulnerable. Like we said at the beginning, he's the hero of this movie somehow, and I hate that. It'd be like Michael Myers taking off his mask to help Laurie Strode to the hospital.
Yeah, it's like
You know,
Tony Moran having his own movie.
Yeah, Tony Moran gets his own shot. Jason Voorhees saving a kid that's drowning, and then that's his hero arc, and he never kills again.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense. Like even though I said it would be a great prequel, there are definitely points of this movie that still fucking suck. It's just that would be a redeeming part of it if it was. But
yeah, because his whole thing is making people value their life.
yeah.
I get that. So this was a prequel, him going through all that.
And then having to leave that and be like, people fucking suck.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I'm going to find some shitty people in my area and teach them a lesson.
Yeah, I'm going to stay in my own country.
Yeah. Like, keep it
find people
local.
there.
Keep it local. I'm going to find a doctor and a PI and see how they're doing. It's just irritating. And the thing that sucks, and, you know.
That's why I hate doctors so much.
Yeah. I mean, I hate doctors to begin with because it feels like they're all money hungry fucking assholes that just want to feed pills down your throat. But that's neither here nor there. The thing is that, that's a lot of the movie, but also what I want to talk about is big issues in horror that I'm seeing trends of that I'm not excited about.
Such as?
Cash grabs. I get it. Okay. There's definitely some that I've watched that I've enjoyed, based on what they did, how they did it.
Cash grab movies?
To an extent. I've never seen one this blatantly, like, middle finger a fan base.
That was the first thing you said when you walked out the theater.
Yeah, but I know, but like Halloween, redoing those three, it's technically a cash grab. We have other movies in that franchise.
Technically, making
Anything's a cash grab.
Yeah.
I've never seen a blatant fuck you to a fan base quite like this.
Yeah. Okay.
Since Halloween Ends, but at least I understood what they were trying to do, even though I don't agree with it. This movie is a blatant fuck you to the fan base. And everybody keeps saying, they literally, the people that we were watching, and we're not going to name drop these people because they're a lot bigger than us, and I don't want them to destroy us. But some of them are possessed by horror, I've heard, but they say things like the fan, like they do this for the fans, and they were like excited about it. And there's no more blatant of a fuck you to a fan base than this movie. It doesn't make sense chronologically. It doesn't make sense at all with the plots or what we've gotten from Saw. They put it out in October again. They've, moved release dates or whatever, what have you. I don't know if they did with the Taylor Swift stuff or not. I know Exorcist did. They're competing against Exorcist, which I want to go see the Exorcist New Beginnings or whatever it's called now because it's probably way better than Saw X.
I mean, you never know.
I mean, it can't be that bad.
I thought the same going into Saw.
But there's a mid-credit scene, as so mentioned to us, post-credit scene, in my opinion, where you see him go after somebody, then there's some fan service. But there's fan service sprinkled throughout this entire movie. And we haven't said that in quite some time because, people have done a pretty good job at keeping fan service to a minimum. But the fan service that they did here was, I guess, just enough to keep the fans like, oh, thank you. But, like, I'm not even the biggest Saw fan and I'm offended. He's a bigger Saw fan. So that's why I keep really pushing questions on him because I don't really fuck with the Saw franchise.
Yeah, I really enjoy the Saw franchise. The little fan service that I saw, didn't he? I noticed him like drawing one of the traps.
He was drawing
where he twists the guy around.
Yep.
Saw him drawing that. In the mid-credit or post-credit scene you're talking about, we get Detective Hoffman.
Yep.
Detective helping him throughout the franchise.
Yep.
Yeah, didn't help the movie at all. It's still, and like I said numerous times before, if I want hints and different shit from the past movies, especially in this case, I would have rather go watch those movies.
Yes. Okay. So a lot of times throughout the history of the podcast, throughout the history of our fucking friendship, I tell you to shut up anytime you say that. I really do. But as we've matured in friendship and as we've matured as podcasters to create content, to try to be as original to ourselves and to our fans as humanly possible, there is no reason to go watch this movie.
This was the final nail in the coffin for me.
It's
for a comment I made a few episodes ago before about being done with these fucking franchises.
Insidious, right? Insidious Red Door is the one that got you? Yeah. Insidious Red Door is a fucking Scorsese film compared to this one, dude.
I'm done with the franchises.
It's tricky. It is. And I'm now leaning more towards you on that one, and I have been so against it.
Yeah.
Because I really...
I'll just rewatch the shit that's already good or not that good, but it's from 20, 30 years ago, so it has an excuse to not be that good.
Yeah. There's no reason for it to be a almost 20-year later movie and be this bad.
Yeah.
And this unoriginal. And the other thing that really pisses me off, and like, I may not love the Saw franchise, but fuck if I don't respect it. There's a difference between love and respect. And as we've mentioned, it is probably the most influential 2000s horror film created.
Yeah.
So how do you go from being the most influential 20 years ago to this hot pile of dog shit, this top tier dog shit of a movie?
Because they fucked up. I don't know why everyone loves this idea of prequels and giving you shit that you don't need.
Yeah.
Because then and you have to do it almost perfectly to not shit on or destroy the concept of the pre or post movies.
Yes.
Once a few things don't line up and don't make sense, it kills everything else.
Yeah. And how fans can't pick up on that is really irritating me with this one.
Well, yeah, and I think I noticed it more because we just watched the first one.
We did just watch Saw, now a week and a half ago, but a lot of times people will go watch the other movies before they go see the newest one.
Very true.
Luckily, we didn't know this prior. We watched the immediate prequel. And I almost watched the immediate sequel after, but I decided I'm done with Saw right now.
Yeah, I think as horror fans in certain aspects, we need to up our expectations for movies and TV shows. We can't just accept just the same shit regurgitated over and over and over again from different people's point of views.
Yeah.
And I mean, think about so James Wan directed the first one.
Oh, okay, because I asked you that earlier, yeah.
So this guy who's been with the franchise, I think the entire time, just not as a director role.
At least 3 or 4 of them.
You see James Wan's point of view in those first few movies, and now to his, but you make yours a direct sequel. Yeah, it doesn't have the same view.
Yeah, the same view, the same vibe, the same feel,
which makes it even worse.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I didn't even think about the directorial differences between 1 now X 2 3 versus I think it's 4 5 6 7 that this guy did.
That's like James Wan and later on fucking Patrick Wilson making a direct sequel. It doesn't make sense.
It doesn't work. It's not the same.
Come on, James Wan.
Of course, you can respect James Wan for quote unquote passing the torch to other directors. But most of the time, James Wan's name still pops up as a producer or something. James Wan, have some balls. Tell people that these movies suck. Please, dude. I get it. You're still getting a paycheck at the end of the day, but us real fans out here are struggling to respect what you guys are doing for sequel, prequel, original franchises.
Yeah, it doesn't have the same vision as other movies. It doesn't look the same, doesn't feel the same.
No.
But it's a direct sequel to that? Hell.
Yeah, it's tricky. And that's the thing. That's the point I want to get across through this episode is that it's a direct sequel to the best Saw movie, which is Saw, the original.
For people of a younger generation who are just getting into horror, or want to expand their horror knowledge, and they're watching, let's say they're watching the Saw movies, or they're watching The Conjuring, more last 20 years,
obviously not 40 fucking years ago like us.
I feel like It's not getting any better.
It's not getting better, and they're accepting it, and I don't know why.
But you can't take those movies the last 20 years or so. But I'm going to remake shit from 40 years ago.
Yeah, yeah.
Bring it now, and same with like Texas Chainsaw, Halloween. You're using older 70s franchises and trying to revamp them, and you're pretty much regurgitating the same stuff from back then.
You are. And
That's why we need more like Cobweb.
Yeah, we need more Cobweb,
original
Smiles. We need more Barbarians. We need more fucking Hell House LLCs. Like, you know, and there's so many things. Hellvan, for instance. Like, we just covered that 3 episodes ago, I do believe. And there were guys we met at a convention. And, you know, maybe we wouldn't have liked that movie as much if we hadn't have met these guys. But also, like, give some of this smaller stuff a chance. Go on Shudder. Scroll for a while. Find something that the title almost makes you piss your pants and watch it. Enjoy it. Send it to us. We'll cover it. But, like, you know, I think us as podcasters, like us as the J Squared Horror Podcast, have to put our feet down. Like, I think let's make a promise to ourselves that, like, maybe we don't cover these new news anymore. Maybe we take a break to prove a point. Like, we're not even going to give it the time of day. Because we've been let down a lot recently.
Yeah.
Since we became the J Squared Horror Podcast, which is creeping up on 2 years. No, like, I'm not saying new movies. I'm saying these franchises, these seconds to the 10, and it's in between this one, or like Insidious Red Door, Halloween 18 Kills Ends. Like, maybe if we see that come across, let's double think it. You know, let's really consider. Let's look at the reviews. Let's see what people are saying, and maybe instead let's cover something small. Let's give somebody else a voice, because until there's a difference, they're going to keep. And we're not a big platform. I'm not saying we're going to make it all a difference, but at least our fans will know where we fucking stand. Because I'm like disgusted that I gave $30 of our hard-earned money to these people.
Yeah, and I told you, as I'm watching the movie, I was thinking to myself, this is it. This is the definitive. I'm done with franchises.
Yeah. I think right now where I'm sitting, where I'm at, unless it's a franchise, you know, let's keep it under, like, you know, if they have 3, you know, whatever, we'll go see it. But if there's anything above 6 or 7 of these movies, man,
or if you made a movie, you know, and the most recent one came out 10 years ago, that's cool.
Yeah, we're talking, you know, Saw 20 years, Halloween 40 years. I'll give Friday the 13th a pass because it's been so long since we've gotten one. So I'm going to go ahead and say that on the mic now. If I get new Friday the 13th content, I will be covering it because I don't care. I want him to experience a Halloween Ends moment. I really do. But if we get something else, you know,
I don't think my heart can take it.
I don't think it can either. I might not even let you watch
these are franchises
we've been idolizing for
this one. I love. They fucked it up like that. No, I'm out.
Yeah,
like this Crystal Lake thing is coming out soon.
We're gonna cover it.
It better be good.
It better be good. I also don't understand it, but we'll cover that when it happens.
Either.
Yeah, it's an adult Jason Voorhees from 1955.
Yeah, pre the original fucking movie. Yeah. He's already an adult.
He's already an adult. No, there's just there. I think that I would just like us to focus more on the smaller stuff, even if it's not even newer. You know, let's cover some of those. The original idea of the podcast was to share.
I was just about to say that.
Yeah, the original idea of this podcast was originally to share 80s slashers, 80s corny horror, and then we started seeing views, we started seeing numbers, and we're like, let's cover the new Scream. That's the first thing we covered that was new.
It was,
Scream. Yeah. Scream 4 or 5? 5.
Scream 5. Yeah. And then later down the road, a whole fucking month of Scream.
Yeah, almost a year later, we covered a month of Scream. Yeah, I don't know if we'll ever cover another Scream on this fucking podcast. That's for sure. Scream 7 might be Christmas related, so I'm excited about that.
Christmas related horror movies.
Hi, man.
You feeling that?
I do.
Okay.
Because we don't have too many of them. And the ones we do aren't usually a hit. And plus, if you ever do a Christmas horror trivia, they don't show up.
They don't.
They do not. I'm talking 0 people show up. So keep that in mind if you're horror. If you at all are interested in doing horror trivias, that doesn't pan out at all.
Yeah, don't do it December.
Do not do holiday specific outside of October trivias because they do not pan out. We can attest to that for sure. We stood in front of 2 bartenders and asked some questions that we had already thought up.
I think we just sat at the table, actually.
I stood up. You sat down.
Yeah, we were at the table with them, eating.
Yeah, eating shrimp and wings and all sorts of shit.
Yeah, that bang bang shrimp is good, though.
You do love that bang bang.
Yeah.
That bang bang shrimp. I'm good with the tendies, fries, and horsey sauce.
It reminds me of the dynamite shrimp from Applebee's from back in the day.
Oh,
I used to love that.
Applebee's is good. I like their 2 for $25 shits.
Eating good, and then they red.
Yeah, exactly. Unconventional podcasting 101, guys. Don't have a plan and just talk about whatever you want. That is what we do here at the J Squared Horror Podcast. Is there anything we didn't mention? We fucked up. We did talk a lot before this, but I feel like we did a good job.
Dude, fuck this movie. Let's just
fuck this movie.
Move on
man.
to the next thing.
All right, I'll tell you what. On a scale from 1 to 10, Jake, what do you rate Saw, X, or 10?
On a scale from 1 to 10.
So fucking excited, guys.
I rate Saw X or 10, your personal preference, a 1.5.
Get the fuck out of my head, dude. As soon as I mentioned doing a rating, right? I'm sitting here. I hit you with the line.
Yeah.
Hit you with the thing we always do. We never agree. Maybe 3 times in the history of this podcast. 3 times where we've actually agreed, and I just haven't said it to shut up and just accept my fate. A lot of times it's a movie that you've really fucked with, and I don't want to deal with arguing anymore. Dude, as the words left my mouth, in my head, I said 1.5. The lowest rated movie I can think of, because I'm pretty sure that our lowest one before this was like a 2.25.
Yeah.
And then you said it, because you said 1 point, and I was like, oh, whoa, whoa, whoa. Maybe it says 5, dude. The lowest rated movie on the J Squared Horror Podcast came out in October of 2023, ladies and gentlemen, off of a franchise that has been respected and loved for almost 20 years. That tells you what's wrong with what they're putting out these days. And that's all there is to it, boys and girls.
Yeah, that's it.
Well, there's more exciting news with Horror October, the J Squared Horror Podcast, and that is on October 28th. The J Squared Horror Podcast is going to be at Pale Horse Coffee in Great Bridge, not their Chesapeake Greenbrier location, their Great Bridge location. We have never done an event at this location. We've done a couple with Pale Horse at their other location, but we are going to be a part of their 4-year anniversary. They asked us to come and do a horror trivia, so we're going to be there. We're going to do horror trivia. We're going to do it the J Squared Horror Podcast way. We're also going to have some amazing prizes. One of those prizes for first and second place is going to be some prints that were given to us, donated to us by an amazing man by the name of Patrick Rasmussen, I'm guessing. I just read that. That's terrifying. Patrick Rasmussen, if that's not your name, buddy, I really do apologize. He is a part of Fantasy Realms Art. He does custom airbrush paintings of horror icons.
They're very
different icons in movies and cinema. We met him at the Tidewater Horror Convention, and he donated some prints for our fans of trivia. So if you win first place, you get three of them and some other prizes, and in second place you get 2 of them. But if you haven't, or if you're interested in checking out any of his prints, you can go to fantasyrealms.com. Let them know that J Squared Horror sent you, and I'm sure he will hook you up with a deal, because he has been super supportive of the J Squared Horror Podcast since we met him randomly at a horror convention. Super friendly guy, super awesome. His work is unbelievably good. Also, what I'd like to mention is next week's episode. Yeah. We are kicking it back to what the identity of the J Squared Horror Podcast was supposed to be. Jake, let the people know what we're going to be covering next Thursday.
Next Thursday, we are covering 1985's Demons.
Woo! I'm so excited. This movie popped up randomly on one of my streaming services, and I watched it, and I was like, holy fucking shit, Jake. We should try to fit this in before October 31st. And then we talked today.
Yeah.
And he said, let's cover it next week.
It's in there.
It's in there. We're excited. It is a classic 1980s, 85 horror slasher, demons, movie theaters, fucking everything we love with the J Squared Horror Podcast. We're super excited to bring you guys content on that. Like I said earlier on in the episode, if you would like to put in a submission of an episode, go to www.jsquaredhorrorpodcast.com. Don't forget, go check out Darkcast Network. Those guys are super amazing, super friendly, and they have some really good podcasts on their network. As always, big shout outs to our main supporters. Jeff Balance, who does our design work. Everything you see that we ever promote, post, wear, as far as J Squared Horror Podcast related, that guy has done.
Killing it.
Every intro and outro song is done by the one and only Lucky Riggs.
Also killing it.
Killing it. Has always been super supportive of the podcast. He actually mentioned a movie that we're going to cover up here soon, but we're not going to tell you guys yet until we can pencil it in.
Don't be nosy.
Massive shout out to the world's greatest co-host, ladies and gentlemen. Round of applause for Mr. Jake Devine.
Thank you.
Yes, he is the greatest. I'm so happy that he decided to be a part of a podcast with a random dude that he barely knew at the time.
Yeah.
Now we've become best friends. We've done hella events together. We've been putting out amazing content.
Yeah.
There's nothing like us out there, and I couldn't do it without this guy right here to my left. Also, a huge shout out to every single one of you fans. Without you guys, there's no point in putting out a podcast.
True.
Every week, you guys click on our stuff. You guys listen to our stuff. You either watch it or listen to it. You comment along. Keep it up. Comment down below. Saw X sucks. Even if you haven't seen it, just comment it down below so everybody that sees my video can know that Saw X sucks. And if you liked it, you better comment down below, standing up for this movie.
And explain why.
If you can stand up and explain why for this movie, I will personally invite you out to this podcast, and we'll do an episode based on your stupid ideas of what you enjoy as a horror fan. I'd honestly love to hear it, because what I heard earlier, it didn't count, and I would like to hear your guys' voices, the people's voices on what Saw X is and how you felt about it. So that's it. This is the J Squared Horror Podcast. My name is Josh.
And I'm Jake.
You guys have a great week, and remember, it's hip to be squared.